Leave another message now. I'll call them, tell them it's until he check that motherfucker out. I have not test drove them. I was going to ask him if he wanted to test drive them.
Hello.
Harbor Sports, this is Gary.
Hey, Gary, this is Scott McKinney. I got an email from you guys about a credit card payment. I was calling to discuss that with you.
I talked to Mike. I got your text this morning. I went back and looked to find out where the condition and what we were up to.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to him yesterday, and he said that, you know, they had the motor, they were going to put it in. We got it all authorized yesterday on the phone, and the only thing that he said, which is why I was texting you guys, was that he was saying, well, we're not going to start on it this week. And I said, I mean, they've been there for almost a month now. How am I not on the top of the list by now? But my question.
Wait a minute. We don't know how fast this motor's coming. We've had you in the shop all the way along. Other projects have been started too. I've got 17 boats out here in the back, and your boat in need of help has been left in the shop. You're not getting put on the back burner, but we've got other things that are going too.
Okay, well, I mean, the motor was delivered yesterday.
I know. With oil coming out of it, it's tipped on the pallet sideways, thick oil, like goo oil, dripping off onto the floor, running on the floor in the shop. Scary looking motor to me. Mike has on order for that. As of today, it goes in because he had to confirm with you about the condition of the motor, and you said to go ahead. He will order a complete gasket kit for it.
Okay.
That's a big concern for the replacement and all the stuff that needs to come off of the other motor and go on to this motor to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely.
That we have all these parts. I said at this point, Mike, I said the work that's done, get the first invoice cleared out of here and keep going on this one. You got until next Wednesday is his deadline.
Okay.
That's when he needs it back.
Okay, sounds good. That's what I was just calling to see what the invoice that was sent to me asking for a credit card payment when they weren't done.
That was the original one, the original.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with replacing the board. That brings you current right now. That doesn't include anything with the replacing of the motor. Okay.
All right. You got a minute that I could talk to you real quick or no?
Yeah.
Okay. This is my only concern is this, that like I told you guys before, was that some of this work, typically, I mean, you tell me how you guys operate, but like I said, being a service writer before, typically if somebody comes in with a loud knocking engine noise, the first thing that we would probably do is test drive it to see exactly what they're talking about. Where that wasn't done with mine, it was they did everything.
Is when they wet tested it here in the garage, you didn't hear that. When we got it down to the river, when I went down, took Mike down to the river to water test it in the river, he got it off of the trailer. He didn't go 100 yards that he looped back around and came right back onto the trailer because of the ticking. We did not hear that in the shop. It wasn't until we got in the river.
Well, I guess my question then, Gary, is that how come it wasn't test driven before any other work was done if they knew that I had the rod knocking noise? That's why I dropped it off. Hello?
They tested it here, though.
I understand, but they said
they didn't
hear the engine noise, which is what I dropped it off for.
It wasn't making any noise here when we water tested it at the shop. It wasn't until we took it to the river.
I understand.
That's what started.
I understand. That's what I'm asking, though, is that why wasn't it water tested before any work was done to verify the noise?
I don't think any flags went up to go to the river at that time. I mean, we run things down to the river. I go to the river twice a day if a flag goes up, but nothing sent us in that direction.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
If we would have heard it here, that would have been different.
I mean,
when we
I guess
just had
my
the hose
mistake.
hooked up to it.
My mistake is I should have showed him before I left when I dropped him off in the first place, because that's when I heard it too. Was when you started up on the trailer and you revved it up to a high RPM. It sounded like the rod was going to go through the side of the motor, and that's what I explained to him when I dropped it off. It was my mistake, I guess, for not starting it in front of him and showing him, because it was doing it for me the day that I dropped it off. I mean, I started an hour before I dropped it off and I heard it. So I guess the only complication there is, like I said, I was just upset that they didn't diagnose my main concern first, and then they even did the recall where they pulled the motor, had the motor out, and then put the motor back in, and then test rode it and said, yeah, it's knocking. I wouldn't have had, if the recall was paying for the labor to pull the motor out, it just seemed like it would have been a friendly thing to at that point be like, hey man, we test drove this thing before we did anything, and we noticed this engine sounds like death. So you're going to need a long block or a short block, and you should get that coming. I don't know of any better place besides the Honda dealer. I assume that the Honda dealer for the Honda AQUATRAXes, you said you were the authorized service center, would be able to repair the motor if that. And basically, when it came down to, hey, you need a motor, you didn't know what to do. You just need to give me a motor.
Well,
so
the motor that's in it definitely needs to be totally rebuilt one way or another.
But you guys don't do rebuilds, the dealer.
Well, not in a drive-through fashion. We've been under pressure on this boat since the beginning. This thing, every time they get something moved and get further down into it, there's another rubber gasket that's just gasket seal, liquid gasket, where they've worked on that area.
I understand. I know that. That's what they told me. It just doesn't seem like it's being handled the proper way for a service department, like I said, to do all this work to it. I've got an invoice for spark plugs and check valve timing and cam timing and all that, and it didn't even need any of that. That didn't fix any problems.
Well, I have the plugs back here, and they won't fit under. The plugs that we took out of your machine will not pass any Honda service rep's approval for being good plugs.
Okay.
That boat came in here and it was overfilled with oil, and they're black. The plugs that they took out.
Yeah, it must have, like I said, those plugs are a week old, so it must have been because the motor went bad that the plugs were completely trashed or something. I don't know. Like I said, I guess I'm just upset of how it was handled. That now I'm paying $2,000 in labor to R&R the motor and transfer the parts when the motor's already been out of it. And it was just put back in as defective. And at that time, when they had the motor out for the recall, I even asked Mark II to, if they could pull off the bottom of the pan to see if something's wrong with that motor before we put it back in. And he said that he didn't want to do that. So they put the junk motor back in, and now I'm paying to have it pulled back out.
The first time it came out and went back in, it was on Honda. This time it's on you. You're trying to say we should have done half of that job on Honda's tab, is what you're saying. I'm not back there in service to tell them which step to go every single. They're doing a bang-up job day in and day out with the number of units that they get through here.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out how to get yours on through by the end of the week, and making sure that all the parts that are ordered for that boat that it's going to need to get that motor replaced and rebuilt up to where it's going to be able to run, that those parts get ordered today so that we have them tomorrow. If we don't have them tomorrow, it'll be Tuesday.
I got you. I don't think you're understanding where I'm coming from.
And then we're going to be hell in a handbasket trying to meet your schedule for your vacation. I don't want to get down to an O-ring that goes in on the bottom of the motor and not get that until Tuesday when you need to pick it up on Wednesday.
I got you. Well, like I said, I don't think you're seeing my point here, but we wouldn't even be in that situation. I'm not trying to put you guys on a time schedule. It's just, I mean, you guys have had them. They sat there for 2 weeks without starting them, looking at them, test riding them, anything, which is fine. I understood that. That was what he told me originally. But if the first day that you guys worked on him, he test drove them and would have said, hey, man, this thing needs a motor, I would have ordered one at that time. Obviously, they can't rebuild it, but I would have ordered at that time, and then they wasted time putting on impellers and grates on stuff on a jet ski that's got a blown motor that needs to be replaced.
Well, I hope you got a good... I'll get this motor back in by Wednesday, and it'll be all over, said and done. But I hope that it doesn't have any problems.
Okay.
Because this motor here, I don't know if Mike sent you pictures of it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it looks like it was on its side and oil spilt everywhere. I mean, other than that, he said the ports weren't capped off and everything, so... I mean, I've got a warranty.
Where the oil ran out of the bottom of it and you run your finger in it, it looks like you just ran your finger through the bowl of frosting. This stuff is thick and gooey. It's not just liquid oil. It's dirty. It's got grit in it.
Like I said, Gary, if I had another choice, I don't know where to get a motor for it. When your guy in service told me I needed a motor, he just left it up to me. I mean, I brought it to the Honda dealer because I thought, hey, if this thing needs a motor, I mean, who's better to rebuild the motor than the Honda dealer? But that was never even presented to me. He just said, we don't rebuild motors. I don't know where to get one from. I would check eBay, and that's what I did. So, I mean, I hope it works too. I've got a warranty on it as far as being able to return it if it doesn't, but like I said, I guess I'm just upset that it wasn't handled properly with the fact that they didn't test drive it when they first got it. They waited until they did, $777 worth of work to say, oh yeah, this thing needs a motor. And we already had the motor in and out, and now you're just going to have to pay the labor again because we did it how we wanted to do it. So, and it doesn't sound like you're willing to help me any with that. So I guess it is what it is.
We've done, I don't know, last year, well over 100 of these boats. In the recall, never had to replace one motor. Had an oil pan that was cracked, that was leaking oil onto the bottom, but that was it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not saying the recall says to replace the motor. I'm just saying that the recall, to help a customer out, the recall pays to have the motor out. We knew the motor was bad when it was out. He didn't want to pull the pan on it to see that there was something on the bottom end broken, and now the motor's back in broken, and I have to pay to have the labor taken out again. But, I mean, I guess, like I said, I've explained that to you multiple times. You don't seem like you want to help me with it, so I guess it is what it is.
Okay. I'll continue getting your boat ready. Try to... Oh, and he hangs up.
What's that?
Hung up on. Really?
Who hung up on who?
I don't know.
Hello?